Okay, this should be working now. Audio check, 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 check. This should be working now. Audio check, 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 check. All right, good. So that works. So what am I trying here? Well, we're going to go do the park event soon, and want to make a very nice recording. And to do that, I want to use the Z-Cam. Z-Cam is a pretty interesting camera, and I do like it a lot. Um, it's They don't make it anymore. For a while, you could get them for $200 new when they were closing out stock. Now you will be lucky to get it for $200 used on eBay. Some overpriced ones for like $400 do come up, but you can get them for $200 if you keep looking. So I got this guy here for $200. This is essentially it's a CCD. So this is a Micro Four Thirds camera with a Micro Four Thirds mount. And then I have a speed booster and a lens on it. So you can put some quite nice lenses on this, and you then get a pretty good quality camera for in a very, very compact form factor. Now there are some downsides to this. The big downside to the Z-Cam is, while it has a very good quality sensor in it, the electronics are not that well polished, particularly the way that it handles colors. And so the CCD is only the raw material. In many ways, the magic in good quality SLRs, Sony, Canon, right, Nikon, um, is the color handling. In the previous video that I did on using LUTs with this, right, I essentially have log output coming out, which is flat, no color correction applied in the camera, and then I do all of that in post. And with that, you can get a very, very nice image, like the side view camera from the Shelter in Place stream last night was done with this camera, and the colors really pop, right, and the dynamic range is really good. The challenge for that when I'm shooting live, as opposed to streaming, which is which is the only thing I've used with this camera before, is that with the flat LUT coming across the camera, you'll see that you can probably see this. It's a very washed out image. It looks almost black and white. And so it's very hard to judge whether or not the camera settings are correct with off of the flat log image. So you see that I'm set here to ISO 100 1/30th, which I can because I have this really wide open lens that can go from f2 to f22 at 35 millimeters, which is a very bright lens. And I can get almost that pretty much all of that range because I've got the speed booster coming in here. And so what I want to try is, if I have, just for monitoring purposes now, this coming into my Mac, can I then apply LUTs through OBS like I would streaming, but then use that just for preview to make sure that I have the f-stop correct for the given ISO and the ambient brightness, and also turn up the shutter speed if I need to. Right, shooting indoors, I'm always at 1/30th. But if it turns out that it's bright outdoors, and it will be bright outdoors, I'm going to need to up the shutter speed in order to prevent the camera from getting the camera image from getting overexposed. So that's what I am going to try now. So I've got my Mac here. let me get rid of this because initially I was thinking, well, is it possible to using the better capture card, the 444 capture card, is it possible for me to capture a ProRes image directly coming directly off of this HDMI link? And the answer is no. In a Mac, the higher end card that reports a full 16-bit video signal does not, a 16-bit color range doesn't expose that functionality on a Mac. I can only get the XRGB space from the AverMedia Live Gamer Ultra on a Windows machine. So live recording onto the Mac, regardless of whether bandwidth and other things, CPU power, which is what I was going to test, actually at the source, it just isn't going to work. There's no reason not to use the internal recording. So let's figure this out. So the setup is then somewhat simplified. I've got the Zcam coming into just a regular Camlink 4K, and then that's going into the Mac. So this is roughly the same setup as we would be using if if I was at Fuse, for instance. And then I'm in OBS, and let's add the Camlink as a video capture device. Camlink 4K. Okay, so I want this Camlink 4K, and then let's not use the preset. Let's get this at 1920 by 1080, 29.97 FPS, and you can see the different input formats. And I can do NV12. I can do YUY too. Really? Huh. The Live Gamer Ultra didn't offer this to me. Let's try that. And then yeah, Rec 709. Let's do full since I want. This is just a preview. Drag this, and you'll notice how this is real washed out compared to. Let me go into the menu, and let me switch over to.
ITSDATGAI. Welcome to my channel.
Let's go to, where is the, not there. Where do I set the colors? There we go, the LUT, right? So if I go back to sRGB LUT, which is the default mode, first you'll see that the image is a lot darker. So let me open up the lens a bit. Let's focus back in. And I mean, it's not bad, but it's not. It doesn't have that eye-popping SLR or mirrorless look. So let me put the LUT now back to. Let me put the LUT back to log mode. You'll see how much more washed out this is. It's also, the image is a lot brighter. Okay, so now let's apply a LUT. So these are the LUTs that I use put on a share drive. So LUTs come in. Um, there are a variety of LUTs that are provided by the um, by Zcam for you to use, and there's a gazillion of them. And I tried a different bunch to get the kind of the look that I wanted. Essentially, it's the simplified way of color grading rather than actually doing the color grading manually, which I don't know how to do. I just pick a couple of these cube files, and what you do is OBS ships with a default PNG, original.png. And this is a PNG file that has just a bunch of colored squares. And when you if you apply the cube file in Photoshop to the PNG, it'll alter the colors, and then you save that PNG out, and then you load that PNG file back into OBS. So let's take a look now. Let's start with the EV0 ones. I think I liked the sRGB normal. Right. So we have this now. Of course, this is a camera picking up the screen, so you can't really. So this is not necessarily a great example, but compared to, so this then applies the lookup table to the flat profile, and this color space change lets you control the way that the colors show up. And there's no perfect LUT. What you'll end up finding is in the flat profile without the LUT applied. Let's see if I can find an example of that in this image. There's some good shadows in this like random space here. So let me take the LUT off, right? You'll see that let's look at this area. Oh, well, I mean, okay, fine. You can't see this, right? Only I can see this on my screen. But essentially, there's a underneath this plate. There's a gradated region here where it's not just all black in the shadow. It's kind of darker in the front and lighter in the back. And then when I apply the LUT, the LUT changes the effect. It's completely dark, like halfway down, and then I can see the light and in the back. And depending on which LUT I use, the way that those different gradations get mapped is going to change. So let's try a different LUT. Let's use this ZRGB AR. And with this, the shadow region is much bigger. And then if I go use the ZRGB 709, oh wow! So this is really contrasty. So that red really pops. So there's huge amounts of contrast. This box now is so black that you can't see the corner. So I do like this sRGB. Yeah, because you can see the light coming in. The box has good. And then if I change this so that, and then there's versions at different EV levels. So if I'm down at, let's say, EV -2, there's a version here with kind of lower exposure. And that's essentially just exposure if you're using different exposure compensation, then it's going to work it'll adjust the LUT a little bit differently. And then I can, of course, I'm adjusting the aperture of the camera manually here, and then I can use to adjust this. And then let me just make sure, right? But the camera should be shooting in camera is shooting in log mode. So this looks pretty good. This means that I can get a LUT preview on this. Camera's going to record at 100 megabits, so that's going to be way better than anything I can do on this Mac. So then, if I take a recording, what am I recording at? 4K P30. So let me try this first. Little motion in here to make this a little bit more challenging. Focus this. What am I at? I'm at f5.6. Drop it down some more. And then the more I stop it down, the greater the depth of field that I have. A depth of field meaning the range at which the image is in focus. So I'm turning the focus knob here, and the focus isn't changing dramatically because the depth of field is pretty wide. So stuff is going to be in focus over a wider range of distances. Let me go for 2 minutes, and then let's see what comes up off this camera. Ooh. Camera is pretty hot when doing that. All right, so now let's see what the image off the card looks like. Let's kind of put that on. This. Let me put this in the computer. Let's see what this looks like. Here's my F drive, 100 media. So now this is the very flat image. Oh, the mic is on. Okay. Focus isn't changing dramatically. Depth of field. Yeah, okay. I can hear myself come back. So now let me put a git bash here. And let's see what the a little bigger, and let's see what this looks like. So let's FF probe this, and this is 3840 by 2160 at 100 megabits. Okay, 420, which is okay, not necessarily ideal for color space conversion, but it'll do. And then I used, which LUT did I use? I used sRGB. Let me double check this. I used filters. The Zlog2 sRGB 64 LUTs. Those are my favorite. Okay, so let's see what these look like if they look, how they look color space corrected, right? So these are logs. Let's open up Adobe After Effects. In the meantime, let me look up how to apply LUTs in Adobe After Effects. Adobe After Effects LUT. How to apply 3D LUTs in After Effects. New composition from footage. Okay. Save this project somewhere. Stick this on remote drive. Any Clover. Make a new folder here. This is for working on the park event. We'll call this LUT test. LUT test. Okay, so here it is. And let's grab the effects panel. And I want, what effect is this? Search for LUT. Apply color LUT. Okay. Drop it onto your footage. Okay. Choose LUT file. Okay, and that is the cube file. So let's go into the Zcam LUTs. So essentially, you download this big zip file from Zcam, and that big zip file from Zcam includes these cube files. And then in order to get them into OBS, I have in Photoshop, I would take OBS's original.png and then apply the cube file to it. But just as you can apply cube files to images in Photoshop, you can also apply cube files to movies in After Effects. And the one that I want is sRGB normal? Is that what I generated this from? How good is my naming? Good. Yeah. So sRGB64 normal is what I generated this PNG from, and this PNG essentially it's a mapping of colors. That's why it has this look. It's got every color in some order in this PNG file, and it's a map of this color coming in should be this color going out. Okay, 64 normal. So that's this guy. Oh yeah, that looks pretty much like my preview. All right. Um, oh, yay. That actually looks pretty good. Okay. The other thing I want to check is whether or not the white balance settings actually have any effect on the in Zlog. Okay, so this is good. Save this project. Close this out.
2020. Welcome to my channel.
Oh no! After Effects crashed when I tried to quit it. I've no idea why that happened, not that it matters. Okay. All right, so what I want to do is I want to see whether or not the color balance, the white balance settings on camera matter, because that's another thing that's going to be tricky in log mode, because the log mode has uncorrected color, is whether or not I care about the white balance. And the answer is yes, I do care about the white balance. Okay, so the white balance setting does matter, which makes this ability to preview even more important. So that means that I need to get the white balance right. The white balance affects the recording, even in log. And so using the back of the display here, because I'm in log mode, figuring out, judging the correct white balance is not easy. And plus this little screen just isn't color accurate anyway, so it doesn't really work out either way. But I can use use the preview here to get the color balance within range of the recording. Okay, good. So that, I think, validates everything that requires validating. Mm, oh yes, there's one more thing I wanted to check. Um, all right. Um, Let me eject this SD card. The sensor size on this is not um, actually 16 by 9. It's wider. So in addition to the 4K, what is it, 3840 by 2160, I can also record at a little bit wider than that, 409, 4096 by, what's going on here? Why does it say ISO 200 at the top and ISO 100 at the bottom? No, that was definitely 100. That's weird. Why does it say no card? Do I need to turn it off and turn it back on again? I guess so. Okay. Anyway, I just want to take a recording. Actually, I want to change the mode. So I think the mode that I want is, sorry, not the mode. The mode is audio, is video versus image. It's the setting. So 4K P30. I think it's this. 4096P24, or is this 2160P30? Let me take two and let's just see what they look like. The first one I'll do is this 4096P24. Yep. 40 seconds is enough. And then I want to try, yipes, I keep hitting that, putting it back into picture mode. And then let's see what 2160p30 looks like. I really thought uh, 4096p mode might only be 24 frames per second. So let's see what this 2160p30 looks like. Is this image, is this frame, okay, so left and right, top to bottom. Is this the full sensor view? No, I'm getting more width here. This is wider. So in 4K P30, I can get beyond, there's a little bit of the screen that I see here. Whereas in 21.6p30, yeah, I don't get the screen. So that's definitely cropped off the sides. And then in 4096p24, I get even more width at no loss in height. Okay, but let's just see. So this is a little bit more cropped. Let's see what this records at. I see lower bit rate. So this is showing I have 9 hours of recording time. And then I'm going to have to do a longevity test to see whether I can actually record 4K for 3 hours. But I'm not going to do that live on screen on stream. That would be pretty boring. $35. That's 40 seconds. Okay. Let's pop out the SD card. And let's see what this looks like on the computer. Okay, where was that git bash? back. So let's FF probe ID 183, right? So this should be the 4K PEI. So that's 4096 by 2180. So this gives you a little bit more width. Because if the 4K image is good enough, which let's see, ID 183, this gives you yeah, this is pretty good, right? This gives you then the ability to do when coming down to 1080p. Can I? Zoom in. Well, let's for one thing at a time. Now let's FF Pro 184, right? So that's, I see, that's 4:3. It's 2880 by 2160 at 60 megabits. And 183 is at 100 megabits. All right. AV ID 183 dash video dash unscale. How do I pan inside this image? All right, so that's not super great. It's out of focus, but it's a little grainy. Unscaled MPV. How do we do this? Alt, left, right, up, down. Okay. The video is, I guess, passable, fully zoomed in. So with a 4096 by 2160. All right, so 2160, it's about double, right? So normally we've got right 1080 up and down. So when you 2160 means that we've got about 2x range to move up and down. And then normally we've got 1920, right? So normally in 4K it'd be 3840. I've got a little bit more than that. Whoops. Let's bring this back here. I'll full screen this guy. right? So, I mean, it's not the cleanest image at this level of zoom, right? Because you can see the struggles in getting the detail for a 4K image into this bit rate, like in this section down here. Um, but it's not terrible. Not terrible. A lot of dot crawl. So maybe this would look better with the in-camera. All right, so let me try something different. Eject this guy. I turned down the in-camera noise reduction, but it occurs to me that I might be able to do a little better in use the available bitrate better if I turned it back on. What's going on here? Why can I not close the battery cover? There we go. Let me camera, and I got to turn it back on again in order to recognize the go back in here, change the recording back to 4096p24. Well, actually, let me go back to 4K because 4K is 4KP30. And that's probably what I'm going to end up using. Make the noise reduction normal. And then the LUT is set to Z-log. And I'm going to make sure that I have minimal sharpening. Sharpness weak. Right. Okay. Focusing real close to the tip of that USB-C cable, and then moving out, focusing further away. Now the microfiber cloth on the right-hand side is coming into view. Now the IK box is in focus. And now the ultrasonic cutter is in focus. And then let's try that section to the left, put the power supply and the PCB grip stand, the two chargers. Okay. It's out. Computer. Oh, whoops, I forgot to put the camera back. You guys didn't see me doing that. You guys just saw the computer screen. All right. And let's do this again. So this is now 185. Right, hold on. Let me just double check. Let me FF probe this. Yep, 100 megabits. Hmm. Yeah, so being at full zoom probably isn't, I mean, it's not bad, but it isn't, this is obviously at the limit of capability for the recorded image, right? You're obviously zoomed in um, and seeing artifacts. I wonder, can you apply LUTs in real time with MPlayer? I guess you can put a 3D LUT into MPVs and LUTs experiment. That seems unclear whether or not this actually works or not. Lavify. Okay, that's a little weird. Um, Hmm. Okay. Hmm. What did I learn? I guess noise reduction normal. Did that look did that look better? I think it looked better. Okay, let's try this again. The key thing here was that I remember from last time was the blotchy colors on the spiral on the spiral here. So there's still noise. It might be a little bit better. And it's also not appreciably worse. So noise reduction isn't super strong and killing the details here. So I think normal is the way to go. Don't think I'll be able to eke out any more from this camera at 4K. Hmm. Okay. So I think these are the settings that I want to go with. And then I have the LUTs. Like LUT preview works using Mac OBS, using just Camlink for using just the regular Camlink. And then using the Camlink 4K rather. So no need to lug the AverMedia Live Ultra. Camera settings are fine. We have the space to do post-process color correction. And I think that's it. All I need to do now is to do a 8-hour recording, 4-hour recording test to make sure that the camera won't overheat. And I think that'll be good. All right, let me put this all back together. Start the test. I hope that was interesting for anybody who actually stuck around to watch this. Thank you, and see you later.